Welcome to episode 8 of Lessons from a Horse with Bethany Tusky. In this episode, I'll be talking with riding coach Carla Bauchmueller about her experiences helping riders better understand both the physical and mental sides of riding. Holding her master's degree in economics in hand, 29 years ago, Carla decided to go back to her childhood dream of working with horses and riders. She's had countless hours in riding horses and training students since, and thousands of hours studying firsthand in world-renowned programs such as Sally Swift's Centered Riding and the classical German training system. What deepens Carla's teachings and sets her apart is her level of expertise in meditation, personal development, and mindfulness training. She's a certified meditation and yoga practitioner, leading and facilitating worldwide. This unique combination and expertise led her to create the Intuitive Rider. In-person and online programs, she helps riders from all over the world to be more balanced, safer, and more connected in the saddle, and also deeply work on the emotional and mental side of being a horse person. Well, welcome and thank you for joining me today. So let's go ahead and get started. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got started with horses and what led you to where you are today?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me, Bethany. And yeah, it's kind of a long story because I started riding as a kid and really enjoyed just being around horses. I grew up in Germany.
Okay.
So I learned on lesson horses. So it was very strict. It was very limited in also the things we were able to do with the horses, right? Just really like you came for your lesson or came a little early to take them up, but then you came for your lesson and that was basically it. You couldn't just like take them and go for trail rides or something nice that I would have loved to do, right? I was dreaming of the pony, like ride on a pony bareback kind of thing. So, but that wasn't really possible then. But I kind of, I fulfilled that dream later. So I even went through a training through a 2-year training where I was really just working with these Western style and Linda Tillington-Jones work and, everything that was considered alternative at that time in Germany. And it was like everything else that was not jumping or show jumping or dressage was alternative. And then I got my own horses. I really could do this like bareback on trail rides, dream of mine, right? So that was beautiful. And and I always thought about like really working with horses and people, like make it my profession, right? I mean, I was so passionate about horses and I wanted to, really kind of spread that passion that I had then and that I still have. And so I took all these different kind of trainings. I went through the German trainer system and I did the center riding training and I did some of the Linda Tillington-Jones work and I'm a yoga instructor as well, meditation instructor. So I just really took from all sides where I felt I could learn more for myself and for the clients that I started having. And I've been doing this for 30 years, but I'm also a lifelong learner. So I've been really studying all kinds of things in the meantime to work with the person, right? For me, it's a lot about us as humans. We have to learn something about ourselves in order to be good horse people, right?
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. Yeah. Awesome. So when did you come over to the States and how did that all come about?
Yeah, that's again a longer story, but not really, but not really. So it happened more or less exactly 10 years ago that I actually moved here. And the year before that, I had won the green card lottery. So you could really apply for the green card, and I had, and so I ended up winning one. So that was lucky me. And I've always wanted to live abroad, and and I really wanted to live in the States, and I had visited San Francisco, I think like 35 years ago or something. I went to San Francisco for the first time. I was like, wow, this is a beautiful place. This is really where I would love to live, but it was really like far out, and not really, didn't think it was possible. And now I live like 30 minutes from the city, so it's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So a couple of dreams actually came true in my life, right? With the horse riding, and like really doing that as a profession. And then living in a place where I really feel home. Like this has always been home. It's just physically, I'm only here for 10 years, but it's always been home.
Yeah, that's really cool that you were able to make that happen. Awesome. Yeah, really cool. So what are you up to now? Tell us a little bit about what programs you've got going on and what you're offering. And you mentioned that you're working a lot on the human aspect. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as I said, I think it's really about the human, like the person has to work on herself first. Right. And in lots of different aspects. It's the physical side, like really understanding movement, body awareness. And I'm not really talking about like fitness levels or something like that. It's more about understanding about your breathing, understanding about your position, your posture, what exactly do you have to do with your pelvis in order to follow your horse's movement, right? Things like this that I feel we need to understand in our bodies first before we get on the horses, and then kind of communicate with our seat with the horses, right? So that's the physical side. And then also the emotional side. How do I overcome fear? How do I stay patient with myself and with the horse? How do I keep joy in my work with myself and my horse? So it's the emotional side that I'm really passionate about too. And the mental side, like how can we really stay focused and be with the horses, be in the here and now, right? And that takes a lot, right? I think if to become a really good rider and horse person, it takes a lot on all these different levels. And then you can always feel the resonance in the horses, and you go like, oh, the horse starts moving better when the person feels herself better, etc. So I love that feedback loop that we are creating through that. And I teach worldwide. I've got online courses. I also travel for clinics and teach different kinds of programs where people can really go deep, right? So I think what people need to be interested in if they want to work with me, they need to want to be able to go deep and wanting to go deep. Like really understanding themselves and being ready for change, but in a really fun and joyful way, right?
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome. So tell us a little bit about the online programs that you offer. How does that work and look? And just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Sounds very interesting.
Yeah. And it's so fun. I mean, I've worked online since 2014, so it's not just through COVID, right?
I know so many people are online now.
Right. But obviously COVID brought us like new ideas and new ways of doing things. But so I've got two main online programs. And they are actually meant to be half-year programs. For one of them, people can just sign up for 3 months and then see if they want to extend. And there's more, right? So if people want to, they can work with me for 2 or 3 years. So, but what they have in common is that we always meet in small groups. With the one program, we meet twice a month. With the other one, 3 times a month. In a small group, like something around 5 to maybe 10 people, but it's still like a small intimate group, and they are really supporting each other. It's a super supportive group. And then I take them through the different steps very systematically, right? So let's say when we talk about the rider side, then it's all about how do I use my breathing? How do I use my centering? How do I feel these basic things first? And then now that I felt my pelvis, how do I have to move the pelvis in order to really be in sync with my horse's movement? And then the next topic would be, how do I get myself symmetrical in all of this so that I'm not like off to one side and hindering my horse that way? So it's really I really like to really take people by the hand and lead them step by step by step, because there is a step-by-step learning to riding that we do not often take advantage of, right? We get thrown things at us and there are like 100 things that we have to focus on at the same time, and it gets really overwhelming and we don't even know where to start. And I like to really start somewhere. It doesn't have to be a beginners, right? Lots of the things that I teach, people that have ridden for 30 years have never heard about, right? So it's the subtleties. And people keep telling me, like, these are subtleties I didn't even know existed. And now I can actually feel them, and I can really feel that communication from my body to my horse's body, and this becoming one, like physically and emotionally, mentally. And that's really the beauty of this. And so the one program is a little bit more about the riding side of things, but obviously the emotional mental side goes into that as well. And then the other program that I offer is more really about the emotional and self-development side. So it's about overcoming fear, really finding more joy. How do I deal with anger and frustration? Things like that. And then we are looking at these things that are reflected back to us from the horses, but then also taking that obviously into life, right? So when I'm afraid with something around my horses, it's also like, okay, what am I afraid of in life, right? And how can I build my confidence, not just around the horses, but in life as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's so interesting how those things that come up with our horses oftentimes carry through the rest of our lives too.
Yes. Yeah, and you're working with this as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I really like that you offer that program for thinking about the riding before you're even on the horse, or just separate to being on the horse, because I think, a lot of times we get up there and we're trying to, stay on and steer the horse and keep them going. And the instructor's telling us all these things, and it's just so many things to think about at once. But it's really nice that you offer something that you can kind of stop and sit down and really think about, what's going on with your body and all of that, and then be able to apply it when you do get on the horse. But a lot of times when you're riding, it's hard to kind of process all of that. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. I think there is a huge value in unmounted exercises, like just as you were saying, like really doing it on the ground and really taking the time to feel yourself. And then saves us time in the saddle.
Yeah, right.
It saves the horse time with us in the saddle.
And your horse will thank you. Yeah.
They definitely say thank you. And I think it's something that's really not taken advantage of much in usual teaching. And I mean, I had a period where I did more private lessons as well. And I know when you teach a private lesson, you don't really have the time or take the time usually to really do unmounted exercise, at least and to that degree. And when I've got a group of people and we spend like an hour and a half on Zoom and we do these exercises together, then people get it, right? They really have the time to get it. And then they get their homework and they do it in the saddle and they go like, oh yeah, I can understand how this works now. And then sometimes they send in videos and then we discuss the videos together that they recorded. But there's so much that really happens on the ground. It's just, I think we should really take much more advantage of this as instructors. It's just
you're right. And that kind of made me think, when we talk about our horses, we talk a lot about the importance of groundwork for our horses, working the horses on the ground before riding them. But really, you're right. We should think about ourselves on the ground too. And I think that's undervalued a little bit. Yeah, and maybe even something that people don't really think about, but when you think about it from that way, like, you know, if we work our horses on the ground, we should, you know, maybe think about doing groundwork ourselves on ourselves, you know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, really cool.
When you think about what we want to achieve with groundwork in the horses, we want them to be better balanced, to understand our cues better, you know, and it's all these things that we can really do for ourselves as well. Find better balance, understand what we are supposed to do later in the saddle. You know, all these things, we can definitely do that for ourselves.
Yeah. And I always think about groundwork as preparing the horse so that they can be the most successful when you do start riding them. So kind of the same idea then for the person, you know, you do these exercises on the ground and then it sets you up to be more successful when you do get in the saddle.
Yeah, and it's also you change your way of moving, right? With sometimes really simple exercises, you improve your balance and your posture, and that's healthy for the person, even if it's not about riding, even just sitting on a chair or moving from A to B. When you do it in a healthy way, your body will be happier, and it's something that you can use 24/7. Right? It's something that sometimes very basic things, just how to walk and how to hold ourselves. And when we understand that on a chair and on the ground, then we can translate that pretty easily into riding. And riding becomes much easier because we are kind of practicing it by walking from the kitchen to the living room, right? We are practicing how to move in sync with ourselves, basically. And in harmony, and then we learn to do that in the saddle too.
Yeah, that's really cool too. You know, that there's things that you can practice at home, you know, because like, I think a lot of times, you know, people spend, you know, an hour riding maybe 1 to 3 times a week or you know, something like that. And that's all the, you know, time they spend in the saddle. So when you think about that, that's really not very much, you know. So if you want to really progress and kind of get better at things, it's really helpful to have things that you can practice when you're not on the horse, especially for, you know, people who might not be able to ride every day or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember as a teenager, I had a really poor posture. I'm really tall, and tall girls usually don't really want to be tall when they're teenagers. So, you know, I had this really slouched forward position, and I got yelled at a lot from my riding instructor, like, sit up straight. and I really tried my best, but that only got me tenser in the saddle. And then I really realized as a teenager, I was like, okay, this is something that I cannot learn in the 60 minutes that I'm sitting on my horse. I have to practice this off the ground because my body doesn't know how to do it. And my body doesn't know how to do it in the saddle. It's obvious that it doesn't really know how to do it on the ground either. And so I really started practicing sitting up straight just on a chair at school, right? I was like, okay, let's just keep practicing. Let's just do this. And it was hard because I didn't have the guidance, right? There's so many really easy exercises. And now I know I could have had a much easier time practicing this with just a little bit more of like mentorship or help. And so I just, you know, tried to sit up straight on a chair at school, and was really tough. But yeah, I realized that really early on, and I got kind of obsessed with this. How can I improve my posture to make my life easier in the saddle, but also my horse's life, right? Because I think what's actually true for most of my clients, I work mostly with women over 40 who've got their own horses. And most of my clients really want to make sure that they are not harming their horses. And they sometimes feel bad because they feel they're lacking the skills to really be in balance and be the best rider for their horses. And this just makes you feel bad. But if you have some things where you can really start improving that, and sometimes it's just easy images to implement, and you can then practice that and you feel more comfortable in your body, then it makes your horse's life so much easier too. And that's really rewarding, I find.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of really cool stuff going on there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I really, I love my work in general. Still, after 30 years of doing this professionally, I'm still
that's awesome.
really, really passionate about it, and I love it. And I'm also really impressed by how these things work online, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I still teach my live clinics, etc., but there's some really great things about doing it online. First of all, it's totally international. Like I have a lady from Japan in one of my programs, people from Switzerland, and from all over the States. So it's really nice to come together, and I feel there's also a way of really feeling each other, though it's on a screen, etc. But I feel really connected to my clients. We have the great time together. And then plus, when we want to roll out the yoga mat, we don't have to find a clean spot or a quiet, calm place in somewhere at the barn, but we can just do it in our living rooms and be more relaxed. I sometimes find that my clients are even more relaxed when they can do it from home.
Okay.
There's no one watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I do these things at barns, then like other people might be watching, and then you feel awkward maybe. And we always do our best to ignore everybody else, but it's when you're at home, like no one is watching. You feel into yourself, do sometimes maybe silly things that we might be doing that others don't really understand what that's for.
It's really kind of amazing what the online programs open up to us and all the possibilities and stuff with that. I know I'm kind of new to it and just getting into it, but it's been really cool and a lot of fun. So awesome.
Yeah, it's also, you can really work with really great teachers, though you live in remote areas, right? You have a chance to work with all these different people, and I'm, as I said, a lifelong learner, so I'm signed up for how many online courses right now, and I'm enjoying it. I'm still like learning so much. It's really exciting.
Oh yeah, I think there's always more to learn, and I've done a few online courses myself and really enjoyed it as well. So yeah.
And you can really keep the human aspect in that as well, right? Sometimes like a set of videos or something to watch, and then it might sometimes be also hard to keep yourself accountable and all of that, but with my program or programs like this, where you actually work in small groups together and you keep yourselves each other accountable, support each other, etc., then it's also, you've got a really big component of this having fun together as a group.
Definitely, and support and encouragement. And getting to connect with people who you probably wouldn't otherwise ever connect with.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but what are some lessons that horses have taught you that have applied to your life outside of horses?
I think countless, right?
I'm sure there's a lot, but maybe one or two.
Yes, absolutely. But to really just name a few, I think what I've really learned is patience and perseverance, right? Like really consistency. Like when making a plan and just sticking with it, being with it. Like sometimes depending on what horse it is, etc., just really asking in a very friendly but consistent way. So I think that's a really big, I'm kind of a stubborn person from nature. My father would always have called it stubborn. But it's also, there's like unshakable consistency and patience also with myself, right? Like if things go wrong, I just go back to it and just keep moving forward. I put one foot in front of the other, and that's just a great tool to have in life. So that's definitely one thing. Another thing is also really joy, just having the
Okay.
joy of being with them, and the love that I feel for them, and also in life for other beings, right? Just the openness that horses create in you, that they allow you to open to other humans. There's you know, when I feel they can teach you this opening, and it's harder, in my opinion, it's harder to love humans than it is to love animals.
Yeah. It can be.
I think that's, you know, lots of people probably feel that they
Yeah.
love their animals really dearly, but then really understanding that the horses can show us how to open to humans as well, and maybe trust again, and really enjoy being together, etc. And also, I mean, as I said, I'm a meditation instructor, and I'm also a spiritual person in that regard. And I find that this just the no mind state that the horses bring with them, and this quietness, and all of that, and the different ways they use their quote unquote energy. This is really something that I'm learning, that I'm taking in, where I feel like, okay, I feel different. Like when I drive home from the barn, I feel I'm just a happy person, right? So it's this, and I take this happiness and lightness and connection with me into my life as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I think a lot of people probably experience that joy and the happiness from their horses, and being able to bring that then into the rest of your life.
Yeah. I think that's really the two big life lessons: the consistency, the groundedness, centeredness on the one hand, and then like this joyful lightness connection on the other, which I feel really go hand in hand too.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, when you learn that patience and perseverance, then you can find joy no matter what's happening, right? So even as you're going through some of those tougher times with your horses or whatever, you can still just kind of accept where you're at and keep moving and keep finding the joy in the work that you're doing.
Yeah, and it's not always pleasant, right? What we experience with horses. It's most of the time it's really nice and joyful, but then we have accidents, or we have things that cause fear, etc. Right? There are also like things, or where we feel guilty because something, the horse gets sick and we should have known better. You know, all these things. So there are these things as well, but really taking that also, not taking it too personally, basically, right? But just, you know, keep moving and go like, okay, yes, I came off that horse, but now I have to get back on, right? So get back on your horse, right? That's a life lesson in itself.
Awesome. Have there been any struggles or any triumphs that you can think of that really stand out to you, that have kind of played a significant role in your life with your horses, that have kind of affected your life? Anything like that?
Yeah, I think the biggest also struggle and also triumph was with the first horse that I ever had, and he was gifted to me because he attacked people.
Oh no.
Yes, a really nice gift, right?
You're right.
And he was this huge warm blood, and he got onto his hind legs and tried to kick you with his front hoof. So it's really like, it was really dangerous. And I had to, with him, of course, at first, I had to figure out what to do. I had zero money at that time. I was in this 2-year apprenticeship, like my second year. And so I was like, okay, what do I do now? But he was actually scheduled for the slaughterhouse. And so I was like, okay, we don't really have anything to lose here, right? So it's just, the worst case scenario is that I will have to have him put down as well. But that was his fate to come. So I was like, okay, there's nothing to lose, basically. And so let's accept my life, maybe. That was kind of a dangerous thing to do. But this horse, I think, has really taught me so much, because I had definitely moments where I had like really fight for my life with this guy. but being like also again like really super consistent, but also staying connected with him at the same time, and like really offering him love again, because he really didn't trust people at all anymore, and he was afraid of lots of things, and like so really for him to start to trust me, but me also trusting him, and really creating that relationship. That was long. It took really a year until he really stopped also attacking other people. He stopped attacking me at one stage. But I also had to make sure that he wouldn't attack others, right? And so that took about a year, and then he became a very friendly horse, actually. And he was a total character. He was really very smart and funny, and I love this horse to pieces. I had him for 14 years. I got him when he was 10, and then he had to be put down when he was 24. But I love this horse really, really deeply. So that was he, and I think he's probably my biggest teacher in this. He really taught me the consistency, especially like if I had just little things where I wasn't consistent, he would pick up on that instantly and got me into trouble, right? It got me into real trouble each time. So then you learn quickly. You learn very quickly. So that was big struggles at first, right? Like really, not really being clear if I would make it work. And his life and my life in a way depended on that, right? That we made it work. A bit of a pressure that we both had. We made it work. We made it work. So it was beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. And sometimes I find that those horses that have had kind of a bad past, when they do come around and they realize that you're offering that love for them, they really can form really deep relationships, and really, really strong relationships. And sometimes those can be the most amazing horses. I have a gelding who was also gifted to me. He was dangerous and unrideable. He wouldn't attack, but he would bolt and rear and actually leap through the air when you were riding him. We had a lot of things to work through too, but he's an amazing horse. I still have him. He's amazing. So I think, once you offer them that love and patience and consistency, like you were saying, they can really turn around and turn into some pretty amazing horses.
Yes, absolutely. And he was not the only one. I had like a couple of dangerous horses that I've worked with in my career. Sometimes not, or actually the others weren't my own, but it was still like really that experience, right? When they turn around at one stage and they go like, wow, right? They're finally a human I can trust again. And it's exactly. Very special bond that it created between you personally and that horse. And then when it were just horses I trained, it was the struggle then was to actually create a similar connection between the horse and the owner. Right? Because the horse had a good connection to me, but then bringing the owner back in and making sure that they start communicating, that was always the bigger piece, right? Getting that connection going. So because I felt what you were describing also, this very special connection between me and the horse that has just started trusting again, but then also going like, okay, you trust me as a human, but there's the owner and he is okay. Right? She's a good person, so I have to start trusting her as well. So.
That can be a challenge, but I think a lot of kind of the mental, emotional aspect of stuff that you were talking about with your program and working through some of that stuff will help the human and the horse and develop that connection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think, with like really these dangerous horses that really attack, or, like yours, like bolt and buck, etc., they definitely need to be in the hands of professionals, right?
Oh, definitely.
But everybody needs to understand at least the basic things about the consistency and the mental focus, like being 100% there, even if you've got the nicest pony in the world, right? You want to be present for them, and even if it's not dangerous, if you aren't, right? Maybe your horse doesn't do any stupid shit, right? But still, you want to just really to make it right by them, right? You need to be there, you need to be present, you need to like feel yourself and really start connecting with your horse so that your horse can feel you as well. So I think it's really precious for everyone who owns a horse or has access to a horse to really understand these things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it just helps the relationship with the horse so much more, with any horse, like you were saying. Yeah. Very cool. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of ground, actually, right? It's like we've talked a lot about things that I find like really important. Right? Just really this sense of, okay, as a horse person, there is you have in a way a responsibility to work on yourself. And oftentimes what I oftentimes see is that people focus on the horse and what the horse should do, and the horse should behave in a certain way, it should move in a certain way, etc. And there's so many training tips on what to do with your horse, and that's important too, right? Obviously, but it's also like what about us as riders, right? What do we need to learn? What is there really for us in this?
Yeah, I mean, what I always tell people is, a partnership can only be as strong as its weakest link. So what are you doing to work on yourself? And are you working on yourself as much as you are your horse? You've got to be working on both. Otherwise, the partnership's not going to get stronger.
Yes. Yeah, I totally love that. Right. And yes, we can easily become the weakest link, right?
I think so.
Don't pay attention.
Yeah.
We don't pay attention. And it's, it's really, as I said, it's not so much about the physical, of course, like physical fitness is nice to have, right? But it's really a lot about awareness.
And being able to
mindfulness, awareness, and being present, feeling yourself, using the tools you have. Like breathing, for instance, that's a tool that we all have, right? We all have accessible.
But not a lot of people use it.
Exactly. You just need to know how to use it and what to use it, and then we can really use that.
Very cool. All right, I've got a few more questions for you, and these ones are just for fun. You don't have to put a lot of thought into it. Just say kind of the first thing that pops into your mind, just some fun get to know you questions. All right.
Nice.
Okay, so what is one thing that you've learned recently? And it can be about horses or anything.
I'm learning a lot about music at the moment.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
I've played the piano for as long as I've written, so 45 years now, and I've now taken it to a deeper level and finding the connection of like the piano and my interaction with the piano and the interaction with the horses, and that's really very cool. That's a really beautiful thing to do.
Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things. The one thing is like really when I play the piano, it's like feeling it. I had an e-piano for a while and I didn't want to practice. It was just boring to play with it. But now I've got like a real wooden piano, like a real piano. I feel it almost becomes like a living being. When I play with this, there's that interaction and there's like an energetic resonance in me and the piano, and we are swinging together in the music. So it's and I feel that that's very similar to what I feel when I'm riding, right? There is the action with a different being, very different being, but it's not just a physical interaction, it's an emotional, energetic interaction, right? So I feel that that's kind of making music together, right, with the either with the piano or with the horse in the movement, because I feel riding can really, or being with horses can really be an art form.
Oh, definitely.
And like making this more and more beautiful, looking for beauty, looking for subtleties. Like when I play, I wanted to sound a little better, like make the movement of my hand a little different so it sounds different and better. And that's what I do in writing as well, like adjusting myself a little bit to make the movement more beautiful. So yeah, that's something that I'm exploring more, and it's really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, for me, riding is all about the art form. I'm a dressage instructor, so I do a lot of dressage, and it's all about the beauty, and that's what drew me to it. I'm really not interested in competition at all. Just about that harmony with the horse and the beauty and the art of it. So yeah, really cool, and I love the way that you tied that in with the piano too. That's awesome.
Yeah, and same here. I mean, I'm mainly into. I love dressage, right? I've like really learned dressage as a kid, and I've worked with classical trainers a lot, like the Spanish and the French classical dressage school. And I've never really been interested in competitions either. But I still wanted my horses to go through the levels, quote unquote, like meaning understanding the movements, right? And really fascinated by these like more collected movements and the more advanced movements. I think that's the beauty of it. And then you don't have to go to a competition to find the beauty.
Right, exactly. Yeah, very cool. All right, share a favorite horse memory. I know there's probably a lot, but pick one.
I think the favorite times were really when with this horse I told you that story about. His name was Ahat. When I really rode him bareback and just with the halter on through the forest. That was this, and maybe one thing where I went on that was kind of one of my silly ideas. I went on a trail ride in the dark, right? I thought, oh, that's really like cool, like moonlight ride by myself. I thought that was really romantic and kind of fun to do. What I hadn't realized is that when you're in the middle of the forest, there is no moonlight anymore, right?
Oh, right.
Pitch black. You can't see the hand in front of your face. And the only thing, and I had already kind of ridden into the forest until I realized how dark it actually was.
Yeah.
So the only thing that was left was like lying flat on my horse's back, because there were obviously branches and things that I didn't see. So I just lay flat on my horse's back, leaning forward, like flat on his back, and just told him, okay, you gotta bring us home now. I have no idea where we are. I can't see a thing. I felt like he kept moving. We were not ending up in a ditch or anything. He was still on the path, and he brought us home. So, and I think that's definitely one of my favorites. So it's but just really, I had to like trust him and like really give up control 100%. And that's until then I hadn't really done that. Like really like where you're just baggage, right? You just make sure you're not being kicked off the horse by a branch. And that's all, right? You just stay there and you let the horse take the 100% leadership. And that was really an amazing experience.
Yeah. Did you find that changed your relationship with the horse after that?
Yes, but I think at that stage we had already started trusting each other so much. And but yeah, it had, like, I think I saw him a bit even in a different light, right? He kind of like through our relationship, I started seeing more and more and more of his personality. And he was, and also his intelligence. He had a very specific kind of intelligence. I just understood more about his way of seeing the world. So yeah, change it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm.
All right. What is a book you are reading right now or have read recently?
I'm reading a book about yoga therapy. So that goes all into how yoga postures can release somatic stuff, like, when trauma that sits in the body, how you can use yoga to release that. And because I feel that through my work with writing, etc., I'm doing some of that as well. And I dive a little bit more deeply into that even. So yeah, it's a fascinating book.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. What's the name of it?
I don't know. Something yoga therapy, but I don't know the title right now. No.
All right. Okay, this is my favorite question. If you could share a message with the world, what would it be?
Have more joy. Have more joy, like with the horses, right? And also in life, don't take yourself too personally. Just enjoy and find the little magical moments in your life. And with your horse, right? That's like the horses offer so many magical moments that we can really take them as our teachers there.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Very cool. All right. So if the listeners are interested in learning more about you or connecting with you, where's the best place to do that?
Yeah, so I think the best way is to go to my website, and there is a quiz. It's it's a really fun quiz, like a 2-minute fun quiz to take. It's about where you are on your journey as a rider. And when you take that quiz, you get some tips from me, and you get a free video training, etc. And you can just get to know a little bit more about my work. And so that's a great start. And it's called theintuitiverider.com.
Okay.
So The Intuitive Rider is the name of my business, and the intuitiverider.com is the website, and you'll find the quiz on the very first page.
Awesome.
Can do that and then take it from there.
Yeah, awesome. And then are you on social media?
Yes. Yeah, I've got a Facebook page. My business Facebook page is Carla Bauchmueller, and then I've got a group as well. The Intuitive Riders Way is the Facebook group, and that's where people can also come in, ask questions, and connect a little bit more. So yes, that's a great way to connect as well, because I'm kind of busy on Facebook too. And I do monthly Q&As and Facebook Lives and things, so people can really come in and ask questions and get to know me a little bit more if they want.
Okay, awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me here today. It was a lot of fun chatting with you, and sounds like you've got a lot of really cool things going on there. So yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you. Thanks so much, Bethany. It was really enjoyable speaking with you, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me today. I'd love it if you'd share your thoughts on this podcast in the comments. I always enjoy hearing from our listeners. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving a review and sharing with your friends. If you're looking to connect with Carla and learn more about the different programs that she offers, be sure to check out her website, www.theintuitiverider.com. If you want to learn more about developing a better partnership with your horse, you can check out our website, tuskydressage.com, or search for Tusky Dressage on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. And you can also sign up for our virtual classroom on Patreon at patreon.com/tuskydressage. And lastly, if you're looking to go even deeper into the lessons our horses have for us, you can check out my book, God's Heart Through a Horse's Eyes, available on Amazon and Amazon Kindle. Thanks again for joining me on Lessons from a Horse, and I'll see you next time.